Hey there gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Co channel, and today we have a preview of Secret Societies. Hey there gamers, it's Professor Meg here, and welcome back to the Board Game Co channel. Today we have a preview of Secret Societies by Garfield Games. Now this is a Kickstarter campaign, so you can check out the link down below for everything that they have planned. This is a sponsored video, and this is also a prototype copy in front of me, so all rules, components, things like that are subject to change. But in Secret Societies, everyone is going to be competing to be the society that is in the most control with the most power at the end of the game. So you're going to have the course of 7 rounds where players are going to be playing as these different factions which all represent secret societies throughout the world, both some a little bit real like influencers, but then a little bit perhaps unreal such as aliens. So you have all of that to pick from, and they all play very, very uniquely. So everyone is going to be playing the same game with the same mechanics where you are bidding for control over different areas, but all of these different factions really play very differently. So it can be a lot of fun to explore everything that the game has to offer. Now, in the game, you're going to be building out your different projects, increasing your income, working on things like that, but the point of everything is that you're going to be bidding to win certain deed cards. And in order for you to have the most control over the whole world, it just makes sense that you would have a lot of control in specific regions as well as across all regions. Now, you might have noticed my hands do that. I'm going to show you exactly what that means in the board in a moment, but it just makes sense that the cards that you're gaining, which are the deeds that you're bidding for, are all color-coded, and in the game you're trying to go for either colors that are unique or diversify, or hopefully both when you're trying to win these different bids. So all of this game is going to be based around blind bidding and money, where some bids will be face up, some bids will be face down, some factions will have some tricks along the way to switch things up, but at the end of the day, over the course of 7 rounds, you're trying to have the most power at the end of the game to win. Now, what I have set up in front of you is for a 3-player game, but I only have 1 player board here in front of you to show you what the game will look like. So this is what your player area is specifically going to look like. As you can see, we're pretty set up to be playing as the vampires, and then everyone is going to be playing with these things here, which is going to be the deeds that you are bidding on, the general play board, which is going to walk you through each round, as well as the different things that you are working towards, such as monuments and these benefits here. And you also have your trade routes that you'll be gaining. Now, at the beginning of the game, players are also going to have these boards, which are slightly different, and it's going to be your starting HQ. So our vampires here are starting in San Marino, which means that they would be starting off with 6 money, plus 2 from their faction, and 1 where they're going to be able to increase their income. So with that, they're going to be able to increase here straight out the gate, meaning that they're gaining 2 coins during every income phase, which is going to start after the first round because they'd already be starting with those 8 coins. Now, at the beginning of the game, you also start with these 5 bid cards, which I'll go over exactly what they do in a little bit, but you're going to have numbers 1 through 5, and as you can see, these are face up and these are all question marks. So you are going to be able to place some bids face down, but you are also placing some face up. So the general rule at the beginning of the game is that you can play 1 face down and 1 face up. However, our vampires over here have a little bit of tricks up their sleeve, but because of that, they have to place one of their face down bids face up, meaning that turn 1, they would have to place both of their bids face up. But taking a look at our player board here, there's a whole lot that players are going to unlock. So there are projects down here that are going to cost you population as well as land, and when you do that, it's going to unlock either immediate or ongoing benefits for you. So for example, where the vampires have to place both of those bids face up, there is an ability here which would cost you 4 population and 2 land, and then every time after that you'll be able to place 1 face up bid can be face down instead, and it's also going to bank 4 points for you at the end of the game. So regardless of what you start working toward, it's going to be worth points for you as well. Now, similarly, you have this industry track where you're still going to be placing land into the tracks, which again we'll get to in a moment with how you're gaining all of these, but when you're placing your land in, when you complete a specific area, you're going to be able to increase your income. So you'll be able to increase it for filling that up, but in order for us to be able to do that, we would have to have the 1 land available as well as the 3 industries. So you can also see on this track here, as well as in many places on the board, things are going to award you victory points at the end of the game. So for example, if we were to place industry here and bank the slot, we'll get 2 victory points at the end of the game. but in order to get this 5, we'd have to bank both of these slots next to it. Now, we're able to do one side and then the other at any point during the game, whether it's in round 1 for the first one and then round 7 for the last. As long as we have both of these slots filled by the end of the game, you'll be able to count this towards your end game scoring. Now, this is your income track, and as you can see, there are some coins where you'll gain coins when you increase on it, but you also get victory points for these. So you can see where everything on your board is very rewarding and very important. So now let's talk about bidding, because that's going to happen every single round and it is the heart of the game. It's what matters the most. So depending on the agenda and what happens, you're going to reveal different deed cards. So currently for round 1, we have 3 deeds face up and 1 face down. You'll always play 1 face down every round, but the other ones that are face up that you see can vary depending on the round that you're in. Now, as I said, there is the bidding where you're going to have coins that you are bidding for in these cards. So you do have your cards that are numbered 1 through 5, and if you win that bid and choose to collect the deed, you'll have to pay that many coins. So I could win a bid with my 4. I was gonna guess this was 4 before looking. If I won a bid with my 4, then I could choose not to pay it. So if I choose not to pay it, I would defer to the next winner. They would be able to pay instead and gain that deed. But if I wanted to, I could choose to pay my 4 coins, which you almost always want to do is pay what you're winning, and you would be able to pay your coins to gain that card. Now, I'm gonna have us do that much more in depth because this really is the heart of the game, but I'm leading all of that up to say that coins really matter in this game, and that's going to be the one thing that you have that's completely hidden. So everyone knows how much you start off with, and you can kind of see what people are gaining throughout the game as they're hitting certain tracks, as you're getting your income every round, so you have a general idea of how much money everyone has. But money is going to be a secret resource that is very, very important, because it's how players are going to be augmenting their bids, because these bid cards also have a number to the side of it. Now, the vampires are very unique that their hidden sides are also up to 3 coins, where normally the hidden side is 2 coins for player cards, and the face up side you're able to add 3, meaning that if you have that many coins in your supply, when you place that bid, you're able to add these in addition to it, meaning that something like this would be a bid of 8. So that can make your bids stronger and stronger, but something cool that I wanted to show you is that all of the factions come with these little tuck boxes. So everything that you need for your particular faction, such as for us, the vampires, we have our charm tokens, everything you need is in your little box. But your box is also very useful throughout the game that I wanted to show you. It actually turns into your little player screen. So you flip it over around like this, it becomes your player screen, and it actually gives you a reminder of final game scoring as well. So you're able to fold this up, place it right in front of you, and have all of your coins hidden there when you're making your bidding decisions. Now, as you can see from the agenda here, it's really great because it walks you through everything that will be happening in the round, whether something unique is happening or if just the regular run-of-the-mill stuff is happening. So there are certain things that will always happen, but for example, round 1, we are not going to have income. We go straight to bidding after placing out the face-up deed cards, and when bidding, it's going to look a little bit like this. So the first player is going to have the gavel, and they're going to be able to choose where they want to bid to first. Now, our vampires do have to place face up, but we're able to exhaust one of our charm tokens to place it face down instead. Now, our charm tokens will refresh and become face up. One of them will happen at the beginning of every round, so we will be able to refresh one back, but that's a reason why you might not want to spend others. So taking a look at the board here, this France is pretty good, but as the vampire, we might choose to wait to see what other people do because our bids are face up. So we'll place a face one up maybe somewhere over here, nothing too crazy, hoping potentially that we win it. And actually, this is a great reason to show you that if you do lose the bid, you actually get a benefit here. So I think in this instance, for round 1, we are going to have our vampire use this card instead, because this one is that when you win with it, you're able to return it to your hand. But with this one, when you lose with it, you're able to gain a coin. So I think for our vampires, that's a better choice for something that's a lower card that's not going to get us too much right now. Then play will continue in turn order, and next up is going to be the stonesmiths. So these stonesmiths have a special ability where they're actually able to see what this card is. So normally it's face down, all other players would not be able to see it, but as the stonesmiths, we're able to take a peek. Now this card isn't too crazy, but it might be something really fun to bluff with. So as the stonesmith, you may choose to even put your one card there face down, but also put a coin on it to make players think it's something that you really want. Now, finally, it will be the reptile's turn, whose ability really comes into play in future rounds, but taking a look here, no one has gone for France, so they would choose to put a 3 over here without any coins because they can always put a second card here, so they'll wait to see what other players do. Now, the vampire is able to also exhaust a token to see a face-down bid card, so this may have been very tempting to the vampire to take a peek at, but as you remember, we were planning to bid on France, so I think that the vampire player would use their charm token, place it over here, and take a look at what this is. So taking a look, we know that it's a 3, and we're able to definitely bid higher than that. We started off with 8 coins, and we're only spending 1 over here unless we lose, which is great, and then we'll have an additional one. So as the vampires, we're able to kind of go, a little bit stronger with this bid, and we will just place our 5. So that will cost us 5 coins, but we'll place it. Oh, and it does have to be face up, but we are going to place it face down and definitely flip one of our tokens for that. And then we're even going to place 2 more coins on that to make it even harder. Now onto the stonesmiths again. This little play seemed to work out for them, and now they currently know they're able to beat the vampires over here because the vampires cannot go again. So they're going to face up, place this 2 here, hoping that the reptiles are going to start fighting for this area here, and that they're going to be able to win this for a 2 bid and take it away from the vampires. Now, the reptiles do have a choice here where they can either choose to just let this go because this is clearly something very strong and take this card here, or they can choose to contend. So in this instance, I'm going to have them choose to take Belgium with a 1 because that's pretty good for them. So who the first player is going to change every round, that this gavel is going to move around, meaning that that bidding process is going to be started by a different player every round until it loops around back to you. But it's always going to look like this, where players are going to take turns placing their bids. But as I noted on your player board, there are some cool things that you're able to unlock as well. So you can place an extra face down bid if you unlock that. And there's also one that lets you place 2 bids on your first turn, meaning that you can place 2 cards out, and then you still get to place a 3rd card out during the second round of bidding. So depending on your playstyle and what you want to pay into, there are some really cool abilities that change this bidding, and that's not even part of your faction ability. And now the deeds will be resolved from left to right, which can be very important because you are paying coins for these different deeds. So you want to make sure that you are having players go from left to right in resolution, because these stonesmiths, for example, may choose not to win this card if they didn't have enough funds to win this one. Now we know that they played very low over here, but if they had perhaps a 5 and wanted to save some of their money, they would be able to not win this instead. So, but we are going to have this resolve where the vampire is going to lose this, meaning that this is going to go back to their hand, but they would also gain a coin for that happening. The stonesmiths are going to win this and have to pay 2 money to the bank for the bid that they did, but because they won with a 2, this is able to go back to their hand. And then the stonesmith is going to be able to slot this card. Now, I'm not going to explain exactly what that means until we get to the vampire card, because that's our player board over here. So just know that this would have gone over to the stonesmith player. Now, similarly, the reptile would have to pay 1 coin for this, and this would be slotted into their player board. Now, taking a look here, we have our blind bids. We're able to flip these over and see who wins the bid. So it is pretty clear that the reptiles had 3 and the vampires have 7, so they are able to win. So the vampires, these 2 coins will automatically go back to the bank. Even if they lost that bid, those coins would be spent and go back to the bank. They were gone, but now they would have to pay the 5 coins to be able to gain France. And this charm token will stay with the reptile players until the vampires pay to take their cards back. So that is something that you're able to do, and that's how you're getting these tokens back, which is an incentive for you to do so, because you also have special abilities that you can unlock when you're doing that, such as gain 2 different resources when paying to retrieve your bids. So I'll explain what that means at the start of round 2, which I'm going to bring us over to, but that can be something that the vampires may choose to do. So we would then slot this card, which again I'm going to make you wait a little bit longer for, because I am going to resolve this, which the stonesmiths would show their card. They would pay this automatically to the bank, regardless if they won or lost. Then they would pay their 1 coin to be able to gain this card as well and slot them for those for themselves. And now when slotting friends, which would have happened when we gained the card, it would happen immediately, but you would choose to slot it either to the top or the bottom of your player board. So you can see that we currently have one card slotted here. So we may choose to slot it to the top, but the major point of that decision is going to be whether you're gaining industry or population. And population is going to help you unlock these abilities, whereas industry is going to help you increase your income for making these investments. So we may choose to place this up here like this, meaning that we are going to gain 2 land and 3 population. So we would take these from the bank, which we are going to be able to put into our player board during the growth phase. Now we did start with this 1 industry because of the card that we started off with, so I'll show you what growth looks like in just a moment. But the other thing to note when slotting these cards is that you're trying to work towards set collection. So when you have a certain number of cards within a column, you're able to gain a monument. So for us, when we place our 3rd card of this color, we would be able to gain this monument unless someone else has done that before us. Then it gets harder and harder. Whereas if someone had already slotted 3, we would now have to slot 4 before we're able to take that monument. But these monuments are placed down here and slotted into your player board. They provide you endgame scoring and also a few benefits, where the first one you place is very, very crucial, where you definitely want to work toward those, because you're able to slot something here for your different projects, either an immediate or an endgame scoring one. So these will either help you gain immediate bonuses or endgame scoring, but it doesn't happen when you slot them, it happens when you complete the project. So you would have to have 3 land and 3 population during the growth phase to place into here to activate it. But that being said, gaining them before other players do, if there's a specific one that you want, is still great because then you can always work toward it. Now, the other thing that players are trying to do is complete a row, which is going to be all unique colors. So as soon as a player has 4 within a row, they gain a trade route. So you could have, for example, all 4 cards here, but none of the lighter blue. And once that triggers and you only have 1 left, you're able to gain that and slot it into your board to have you have a complete row. Now, those are going to have victory points on them, and they get lower as the game goes on. So you definitely want to try to complete trading routes as fast as possible. And they also tend to give you a benefit as well, especially in later rounds, such as industry or land. So you want to be completing them across this way as well as this way, because that's really going to help you with the monuments and the trade routes. But also another thing that players are able to unlock is going to be these slots here. Now, again, this is going to be played during the growth phase when you are slotting things, but these different areas, if you are able to slot them, it's going to give you 2 points per card in that column at the end of the game. Now, this can be very hard to do because your cost for it is going to be the land that it costs. So this is automatically 2 because it's a 2 spot, plus any others that you've done. So if we've already done 1, it would cost us 3 land. And it's going to cost you industry based on the number of cards in that column. So a good idea may be to unlock it before you're working toward it, but then you're not guaranteed to be getting cards of that color. So it can be a tricky balance of when to invest in certain areas and when to not. Now, one final thing to note is that when all of the deeds are resolved, any player that did not get a deed is actually going to get a slight consolation. So you can see here at the bottom here on resolution, anyone that didn't win a deed this round would gain 1 land, 1 population, 1 industry times 2. So you'd be able to choose what you would like to gain, and that kind of gives you a little bit of something extra because other players are probably going to have a lot of tokens. But that may be a reason for you not to purchase a deed. If you perhaps bid 5 and another player bid 4, you may choose to let them spend their 4 coins for that deed, knowing that you can save your coins for next round and be getting some resources. Now, in this round, there's also going to be an event where all players gain either 1 land or $2, and then the growth phase is going to happen. So the growth phase is very, very important, which is when you're going to be slotting into this board. Now, the thing about the investments is that some of them are going to be worth negative points because some investments don't pan out, but it does still increase your income. So that may be a reason for you to choose to pay into it early, because it is going to be worth negative victory points for you at the end of the game, but it's giving you income throughout the whole game, so why not? Let your future self pay for that. Worry about now right now. So in here, we are going to use this one industry. Sorry, we're not going to use our industry. We're going to use this slot here that doesn't require any at all. And we're going to slot this land into here. And where this is completed, we're going to be able to bump this up by 1, meaning that our income is now 4. But we are getting -4 at the end of the game, which is something we don't want to happen. Now, we do have our abilities down here, and here for 2, we have our faction ability, which is gain 2 different resources when paying to retrieve bids. And it's also going to give us 2 victory points at the end of the game. So we're going to choose to use this land here and pay our 2 population, and now we have that permanently unlocked for us. Now that's going to be the general pace of play of the different rounds. Some things may creep up and happen, such as special events, but generally the pace of play of the round is going to be that the cards are revealed, players are going to bid, you will resolve all of those, and then you'll have your growth phase to slot what you can before the next round. So the deeds that you bid on are going to be very, very important, and some of the things that you gain are going to be able to chain to get you other stuff, such as the investments you make will be able to gain you more population or certain projects that you do. So you may have a little bit more extra options when that's happening, but overall you're going to get most of your options during the growth phase from what you've won from your deeds. And one final thing to note is that when you are resolving the deed cards, as players win and choose to pay for those different deeds, the cards that they win with are placed into a vault. So once you win with these cards, they are placed over and you are not able to gain them back until the next round. So I'll place those up here just as an example, and then I'm going to move us on to the next round just to show you a little bit about what that will look like. So round 2, the first thing you'll do is pass the gavel and gain your income. So this will go to the next player in turn order, and then you'll gain income. We would be gaining 4, and then you can retrieve your bid cards. So any players that have cards that are up here, you can pay to retrieve them depending on the round. So currently it would cost $1 to retrieve all of yours. Even if you were the stonesmith, you could retrieve both for just 1 coin, but the vampire may choose to do so paying 1 coin to take this card back, because then they're able to gain their charm token back that was given to the reptile. So they may choose to pay to take both of these things back, and at the start of the round they'll also refresh their other charm token. So that's a great way for them to gain both back, but you have to have the money to be able to gain your cards. Now this is after income, so you are able to do that, but it's whether or not you want to spend the money or if you think it's more important to save it for the different bids that you'll be making. But all of this happens before the next deed cards are revealed, so you kind of have to make those decisions before knowing what you'll be bidding for. So you will gain your income, potentially retrieve your bid cards, and then new cards will be placed out. So in a 3-player game, 3 cards would be placed out, and then another face down starting over the next round of bidding. Now, one final thing for us to cover may be a spot on the player board that you noticed I haven't talked about at all, and that's going to be your satellite track. Now, this is going to be a track that's very hard to advance, but very, very rewarding. This is where your stars are going to be coming from, which is related to your HQ that you took, where some of the abilities everyone has, but some of them are unique on your board, but increasing your satellite is going to be quite tricky. So you can see it's this track here, and the very first one you move over, you're going to be able to take a star and slot it into your player board here. Now the way that this happens is for you to have cards that are bordering each other. So for example, this Belgium card here is next to France. You can see it's a tag on here. So winning both of these could have been very, very good for this player if they had been able to do so, because it would have allowed them to have 3 of that color potentially before other players, but it also would have had them able to trigger the France's the tagging, so that then they're able to move up their satellite. So if you were able to have ones that are touching each other as shown on the card, then you were able to move it forward and gain the different benefits. So some of these are just coins or land, population, industry, or increasing your income, but all of the star ones are going to be things that are slotted into your board. So you can see here that islands are pretty good regardless, that when placing an island, you gain 1 population, which is another reason why players may choose to go for islands such as Ireland. Or there's also majority scoring at the end of the game, which is also going to be very, very important, that the player with the most islands is going to get 12 points, and then 8 points, and then 4 points. So islands are really going to be a commodity that players are trying to get, because something about them is that islands will not trigger this satellite board because they are not adjacent to anything. So instead you get rewarded for islands in that sense. And then you can see here that this first star that we chose to slot is going to give us an island ability that we can pay a coin whenever we play an island to advance our satellite, meaning that it kind of gets a little bit better to get islands for us. Now there are some immediate abilities such as gaining a monument of a color that you don't currently have, or gaining $2, or other ones are ongoing abilities such as this monument one here, which is whenever you place a monument you would gain 2 coins. So again, the satellite track is going to be something that you're thinking of later once you gain some cards, because then you're going to be looking to see what's adjacent to it, but it can be really, really important because you are slotting these different abilities, and then for every star that you remove, you're also going to get victory points at the end of the game as well. In secret societies, the best part of the game is going to be playing as the different societies. So everyone is trying to do this same puzzle as trying to increase their income, play out these different investments and projects, and trying to both work within the same region as well as diversifying where you are gaining your different areas. So everyone's doing this general bidding puzzle for the different locations, but the secret societies that you're playing as are all going to feel so unique. They feel very, very different and very powerful. You feel like you're changing the game a lot, that you're able to do different things, that you feel like you're able to stop a lot of players, but then they have abilities that are just as cool as yours, so they're able to have some influence in the bidding as well. So the game has this backbone that everyone is playing up against, and then you have your different societies that are able to change that and mold it to what you need it to be, so that you're able to afford the cards that you want and try to complete these different bonuses, whether you're trying to go for the same region or diversify. And the biggest part is going to be the resources that you gain. So you're trying to gain the different lands, the industry, and the population, and that's going to be so important because every little bit really matters in this game, where even for the industry, for example, you need certain amounts to be able to make those projects, and a difference between 2 and 3 is absolutely huge. So you're definitely going to be thinking a lot about what you're able to chain and gain throughout the game and ways you're able to stop your opponents. As I said, there is a little bit of a strategy of having your opponents pay for cards that you bid on. So there's also that where you're trying to see what everyone is trying to do and then try to force them to do what you want them to do without them knowing, which it sounds just like a secret society already, doesn't it? Where you're trying to influence other players without them really knowing the influence that you have. And the other thing that's really great is that you are playing with real geographical locations. So a lot of this is going to feel familiar, where you are playing as these societies where, again, some of them are strange, like the aliens and the reptiles, but you are going to still have this general geography that kind of anchors you back to the real world and gives you a little bit of something to have accessibility in the game, where you're able to grasp the concept pretty easily, where you know you want certain things because it just makes sense that they're next to others. Now, if you'd like to see exactly how this game plays, there's also going to be a gameplay on the channel, so you can check that out. This has been a preview for Secret Societies by Garfield Games. I've been Professor Meg. Thank you all for watching the Board Game Code channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye!